I will be forever the myth.
You're the king of kings, son.
There's always a pecking order. The little packers never mess with the big packers. So I'm a rooster, and he's a chicken, so to speak.
Let's talk about the guy who took fifth, and his name is Andrew Jacked. And I was really excited about this guy competing. He's been competing in the Olympia the last couple of years. He's a real big guy. I think he's 6'2", kind of like longer arms, longer legs, incredible structure. He makes the other guys look small. He's so wide. When he stands next to these guys, he makes them all look tiny. The only one who can look big next to him is Samson. But I think he's actually bigger than Samson. He's wider and he's taller than Samson. And so he competed in the Texas Pro. I think this was like the third year in a row he won it. And he looked unbelievable. He was bigger. He looked like he put on 20 pounds since last year. And I was like, if this guy goes in the Olympia like this, I think he's going to be like a Ronnie Coleman and win. And he only took fifth. He didn't hit his peak. I don't know really what happened. I was looking at him and I was like so disappointed. It looked like he was flat. He didn't really look smooth. He's got incredible abs. He's got like 8-pack abs. He's one of those few pro bodybuilders that's got unbelievable abs. He just didn't look dominating. Now, here's one thing I noticed about him, and I don't know the guy personally. He doesn't look like he wants to win. Like he gets up there and he kind of looks lazy. You know, he kind of like just, like, okay, like he knows he's good. And he thinks he almost feels like he thinks he deserves it, but he doesn't go after it. He's not hungry. Like this Martin Fitzwater kid, I really liked him because he showed, you could see the hunger, you could see the desire with him when he got on stage. Andrew's the opposite. He's like, he just kind of ambles along. His posing is very lackluster. He doesn't look like he's hitting the mandatory poses correctly. And then what happened at the night show was interesting. Brandon Curry, I think it was Brandon Curry came out, and I think he was the guy to come out before Martin. I'm sorry, not Martin, Andrew. And he had some bad language in his music that he selected. You know, like it was a rap song and they were using the N-word and stuff. And they let the song play. But then after that, I think they must have went to the DJ and said, hey, if this happens again, pull that music. We can't have that music playing. And so that's what happened with Andrew. He came out right away. There was bad language. They cut his music. And then they put like this other song that they had as a backup. And he looks over at Bob Ciccarello and he's like, this isn't my music. You know, he already had a posing routine planned to that music. So Bob Ciccarello tried to play it off and he goes, Andrew, it doesn't matter. You could pose to anything. We just came here to see your physique. And he was just like, nope. So he ended his routine with the splits. He's like Flex Wheeler. He can do the splits. So he just went and did the splits, and then that was it. He walked off. He didn't even do the routine.
Yeah. But you know what, though? He had planned to pose to that particular music.
I think he had 3 songs spliced together, yeah.
Right. That could really throw off your kind of mental focus. It could cause an immediate feeling of discouragement, right?
Yeah.
And when that happens, the description you just gave of like, I don't give a crap, I'll do. It kind of picked up by the judges.
Yeah.
And I know, I totally agree with you. Andrew Jack is an extremely impressive bodybuilder.
Yeah.
He definitely has the potential to win the Mr. Olympia. And he is one of the biggest guys. He's got all the tools. But, when he's thrown off like that and he loses his enthusiasm, 360 degrees opposite of Marvin Fitzwater or Melvin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of picked up by the judges.
Yeah.
And again, this shouldn't be, but a lot of the judges will look at that and they'll say, geez, he doesn't look like he even cares about winning. So
it's all subjective, like we said.
Yeah, exactly. He's a big guy, but we're not going to give him the title,
Right.
And then, so he winds up, a guy like that who could have been first or second, winds up in 5th place because, again, he gives the impression, I don't give a crap.
Right.
Place me where you want.
Right.
That really, and I don't Chicarella doesn't have his ass from his fucking elbow to say, oh, you can pose anything. These guys practice their posing set to a certain music. And if in the middle of the routine, all right, I kind of agree with the language stuff. You know, I mean, maybe there's families and children or whatever.
They should have told these guys that ahead of time. Hey, you guys can't use this music, you know.
That's right. They have to tell the guys ahead of time.
Right.
No language, no songs about killing cops
right.
or raping women. No, we're not going to allow that.
Right.
We're not going to play it. So they're forewarned. But since they didn't, he had his posing kind of his routine planned to certain music.
Right.
And when they threw it off, he just gave up.
Yeah.
It's kind of a boxing match. Remember when that what was his name? This Hands of Stone.
Yeah.
He was in a fight, and suddenly he put his hands down. He said, "No mas."
Yeah.
No more. And he literally walked out of the ring.
Yeah.
He walked out of this fight, and this was Andrew Jack's way of saying, "No mas."
Right.
You know, if you're not gonna, if you're gonna not let me pose to the music that I prepared, then fuck it. What's the point?
Right.
And see, what he didn't realize is by doing that, again, the judges picked up on the attitude, and they said, well, he obviously doesn't care where he places, so he's a great bodybuilder, so we'll give him the top 5, but that's it.
Yeah. It made me think of the 1981 Olympia when, you know, the guys were posing the music, and back then they had cassette tapes. You know, they didn't even have DVDs; they had cassette tapes. And Roy Callender's tape broke when they were playing it right at the beginning. He played. It was like a 30 seconds in, and the tape broke, and he just kept posing, and the crowd went nuts. You know, because the more he posed, they knew he can't. I think people were thinking, oh no, they're trying to screw him over. They're, you know, because they were judging the posing. They did this on purpose. So then Roy kept posing, and the crowd went crazy. You know, they went nuts for him.
You know, the funny thing is, now that's a good, interesting anecdote you just told, because if Andrew Jacks had not let the music screw him up, and he continued to throw a lot of powerful poses, it might have placed. I don't know if he would have beaten Samson, but he probably would have been second or third.
Well, they didn't. They don't really judge the posing anyway, so I guess it really didn't matter. But you know,
but in other words, but my point is, he gave the impression that he gave up.
Yeah.
So, you know, the judges felt they knew he was a great bodybuilder. They're not going to give him 10th place, and you know, so they gave him 5th place because, you know, it's kind of like the old thing about, remember the thing about how Lee Labrada lost to Lee Haney because they said Haney was poser, which I always laugh about, because Lee Labrada, I think you'll agree, one of the greatest bodybuilding poses
ever.
No offense to Lee Haney, but come on, you know, that is so absurd.
At the same time, I think if you're a professional bodybuilder, you should be able to pose to anything. You should be able to know your best poses. You should be able to do the transitions. You should be able to pose to anything.
I totally agree, and that's the way it should have been. Andrew Jack just completely ignored it and kept up, but he couldn't. Apparently, he was so attuned to it that he didn't expect it. It was like somebody hitting him on the side of the head out of nowhere. It just kind of threw him off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you're right. If he was totally professional, he should have just completely ignored it and continued it with the routine.
Yeah.
He may or may not have placed higher. I don't know. Yeah. But if he's as good as say he was, and as big, he probably would have placed a little higher. You know.
Well, when you look at guys like Arnold, Lee Haney, Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath, these guys, they would get up on stage. I remember Phil Heath. He was so fiery when he got up there. It was like, you want to take this title away from me, you're going to have to take it from me. You know, like he was a fighter. You know what I mean? And they said, like, when Arnold won the 80 Olympia, I remember Bill Pearl said, Arnold's the fiercest competitor I ever seen in my life. I never saw. He fought for that. You know what I mean? And it gets frustrating watching someone like Andrew Jack, who has all this great genetic potential. And as a fan, you're like, oh, I want to see this guy win. I want to see this guy at his potential. And he just looks like, I don't really care. You know?
I think that the level of enthusiasm does make a difference.
Yeah.
I think it really does. I mean, like you mentioned, this guy Fitzwater, and there's others.
Yeah.
Lex Wheeler, if you know the guy personally, was a very kind of in a way he still is. He's a kind of an introverted guy.
Yeah.
When I first interviewed him, when I first met him, geez, 89, 88, 9, something like that. He was just coming on the bodybuilding scene. He was still an amateur, was competing at shows like the USA. And I remember him saying that, I said, so, Flex, you look pretty good. I mean, I think you could go all the way. I think you could be maybe Mr. Olympia. And he was a lot smaller back then.
Yeah.
And he said, Jerry, I look at these guys who are in the Olympia. He says, I can't compete against them. He says, I'll never get that good. This is what Flex Wheeler told me.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is, and a similar statement was from Vince.
Vince Taylor. Vince Taylor.
Vince Taylor told me and Julian Schmidt the same thing. I'm not good enough to be a pro.
Yeah, I remember you told me that. Yeah.
But the point being that Flex Wheeler, as introverted as he is, he's tends to be a kind of a quiet guy off stage. When he posed, his whole personality changed. If you remember,
yeah, he was a fighter too on stage.
In fact, he's been accused of arrogance.
Yeah,
because of the look on his face. He kind of had a smirk on his face when he posed, and he would just do those splits. I mean, that added to his success, I believe, as a boxer.
I do too. Yeah,
I don't think you could throw. I mean, if he would have acted like Andrew Jacks, who knows? He might have not done as well as he did.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's just like I said, as a fan. I mean, as a fan of bodybuilding, you're looking at this guy thinking, I wish I had that potential. I wish I had that body. Oh man, remember what Arnold used to always say to like the Lou Ferrigno or somebody, be like, if I had your body, I'd win. In other words, Arnold's, charisma, Arnold's determination, Arnold knowing how to play it to the judges. If he had that potential, he would win. And you see a guy with potential like Andrew Jack gets fifth, and you're like, this guy should be winning this title, or should be first or second.
I agree, but maybe if he sees this video, Andrew will kind of change attitude a little bit, and we'll see a big difference next time he goes to the Olympics.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I hope he's not unrealized potential,
Yeah. I mean, if he improves more than he already is, and he doesn't, again, get an injury or something happens health-wise, this guy can go all the way with a better attitude. Geez, he could like I say, Samson or Heidi or one of these guys comes in off, and he comes in ripped and hard, right up there. He becomes right Mr. Olympia.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No question about it.
Well, I guess he's doing the Arnold Classic, and Samson's doing the Arnold Classic, so that should be good. Those two guys would be, like a rematch. So
yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's talk also about the Classic Physique, Jerry. I was very impressed with this division. I went and watched the prejudging. They did it all in one day, so they had the prejudging Saturday morning at the Expo, and then the finals were along with the Mr. Olympia finals at night at the theater. So there was 54 Classic Physique competitors, and I got to see every one of them, because at the prejudging, they would bring them one at a time up on stage for a minute, and they would get to pose. And there were some very, very impressive physiques that guys you never heard of. It seems like what's happening with this division is, there's like 5 or 6 guys who are name guys. These are the ones that all the fans know. So everybody was kind of waiting for one of those 5 or 6 guys to come on stage, and then they would cheer loud for those. But there was quite a few other guys, like even from other countries, who had incredible physiques, and they kind of just like lost in the shuffle. I think what they should do next year is they should have an elimination round maybe the day before and cut it down to 15 guys, from 54 to 15, and then just judge those 15 guys. But I think the judges did a very, very good job. They brought everybody up like in groups of 8, and they judged those groups, and they judged everybody. So I give the judges credit. That's a big, big task, to judge 54 guys. But the results were that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think you being there, was Chris Bumstead a deserving winner in your opinion?
Yeah, I thought at the prejudging, I thought he was the winner. Now at the night show, it looked like he flattened out. And the guy who was second, who was a surprise second, because I don't think most people even had this guy in the top five, I thought that guy just peaked better. He looked fuller, he looked harder. And I thought he had Chris beat on pretty much every pose.
Yeah.
But Chris, I think, won the prejudging. I took some really good pictures because I was sitting pretty close. And Chris really has a great, great physique. You know, he knows how to pose. He knows how to present himself as a winner. He's not perfect, of course. I think his arms could be a little bit bigger, but he's got that really good structure. He's got the wide shoulders, a smaller waist. He's tall, which makes him look really good. He knows what poses he looks good in. He hits every pose, spot on. At the night show, he did another great routine. I think he's one of the better posers. He always picks good music, Jerry, and that's one thing I always complain about. Like with the open men, I think the only guy that had a good routine was Samson. Out of the 15 guys that were in the show, the only guy that had a good routine was Samson. So I'm almost giving up on the open men ever doing good posing again. I don't think it's going to happen. But the classic guys are a whole different ballgame. Those guys are there's quite a few guys who are really, really good posers, and you could tell they put work into it. They use good music. Bumstead always picks good 80s music, which I tell everybody, that's all you got to do. Just pick a good 80s song. Everybody loves good 80s music. And he does. He posed to a song by heart, and it was really good. So I thought he was a deserving winner. I wasn't expecting him to retire. He retired. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, I
after
heard.
6 wins. Yeah, a lot of people were expecting it. But what a great champion. Overall, you look at his career. He said when he did a fantastic speech when he retired, and he does great speeches every year when he wins. But he said that not only did he want to win the title, he wanted to set the standard of what classic physique was. And I think he did that. And he said, that's what he said. He goes, I think I did that. And so he really did set the standard of what a great classic physique. And he retired on top, which most guys don't do. Most guys will stay in until they get beat. And as you know, Jerry, I mean, no matter who you are, once you stick around too long, everybody's going to start to turn on you, and like they want to see you lose, And so he was still very, very loved, obviously. There was one point in the prejudging, as I'm watching these 54 guys go through their routines, I was sitting in the press pit, and I was like in I think the third row, and that was completely packed. The press pit was completely packed. So I looked over to my left, and there were people standing up. This is in the expo, and they had a roped off area. They were standing behind the roped off area all the way to the wall of the expo. And then I looked to my right, same thing. There had to be thousands of people. And I know it was because of Bumstead. Everybody's there to see him. They are going to lose so much attendance and so many fans when he leaves because he is so loved. And I mean, people who don't even work out follow him and admire him. It's crazy.
You think that, would you say that he was taking aside everything else, would you consider the best overall, if they had an award for best overall competitor in the entire Olympia events, would you think that, would he get that award in your opinion?
Out of all the events?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I really like his physique. I mean, I talked to Samir. Samir kind of criticized his physique. He said he's got weak points and stuff, but I don't really agree. I think he's got a great physique, and he presents it really well. You know how Arnold was and how Zane was. They would present their physique the best way for them, And I think he's got that ability where he knows his body well enough, and he knows how to present it like in its best light.
Well, one thing I noticed, and when I watched the video, the guy who got second, who I have no knowledge of at all, never seen him before.
Yeah.
This is finals. I was very impressed by this guy.
I was too.
He to me, again, I'm only going by a video. I didn't see these guys in person, but he looked harder than Bumstead.
He did, yeah, at night, yeah.
Considerably harder. Bumstead was a little bit bigger than him, but in other words, if Bumstead, if I would have put it on a point basis, I would give Bumstead maybe 1 or 2 points ahead of this other guy, because this other guy was really, I never heard him. I don't know who he is, but he was very good. He was in totally peak condition. Very good.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. I think I found interesting about Chris is, now this is his what, 6th win?
6th, yeah.
Was his 6th Okay, now he's retiring now, but this guy has done very well for himself. He has like a supplement line. I don't know whether he's selling other products, but I just happened just the other day, I came across to show you how well this guy's doing because of his popularity. I saw a video of he trains at home, but it's not his home. It looks like he has rented a big storage unit, huge.
Yeah.
It has a car. He has a classic car there, but he has a complete. When I say complete, I'm talking about he has machines and equipment that rivals any professional gym.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I've never in my life. I've seen a lot of home gyms, but including Arnold's, I've never seen a home gym like he has.
Yeah.
And he explained in the video. He says, this cost a lot of money to do this, but I feel like I'm spending it on myself. It helps me. I don't like being bothered in the gym. I don't like people talking to me. I take it very seriously, which makes I totally understand that. I totally agree with that, because my workouts, I'm not comparing myself to Bumstead. I get to the gym so late that John, believe it or not, if I get in one 15-minute conversation, I can't finish my workout.
Yeah.
That's how critical the time. So I understand what he's saying that, but I'm saying to myself, my God, that was like $1 million gym. He had every machine in there. I mean, and so the guy is doing. And plus, he mentioned in another video, this was a couple of months ago, I guess he married a girlfriend. She had just given birth. He has a baby. Child
this year. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because of his popularity, he's got a booming business.
Yeah.
And he wins the title. Like you say, he goes out on top. And why? I mean, he's still pretty healthy from what I could see and understand.
Yeah.
Why risk anything? Why not go out on top? And he could still stay in the spotlight on social media.
Yeah.
Keep those fans, continue to make good money. I think, in other words, I'm saying he's a smart guy. He dropped out at the right time. He doesn't have anything to prove. He won 6 titles in a row. I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to beat that for a while. He's going to be considered the best classic bodybuilder ever. As of now, he's the king of the classic bodybuilding division.
Yeah.
So, and people, as you pointed out with the crowds, feel, and I've said this many times, and I've written about it, is by far the most popular men's bodybuilding division. By far. It's more popular than the open. A lot of people don't like to look at the open bodybuilders.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then we have men's bodybuilding, which the guys have a leaner look. They have great abs, but a lot of people don't like the board short stuff.
Yeah.
They're not showing. I mean, even me, I still get a little funny feeling when I see that.
Yeah.
Because I always worked hard. Until me, when I was a bodybuilding competitor, symmetry and proportion were everything. You had to have your legs, everything had to be in balance. And you have these guys competing where they don't show their legs, and it's not it's not the fault of the competitors. But in other words, I don't think that appeals to people as much as the classic, which harkens back again to the look of the 70s and the 80s, when the bodybuilders had the symmetrical, smaller symmetry and more cut physiques, more kind of attainable physiques.
Yes. Yeah.
When you look at the Open Pro, I mean, look, it's no secret. You're not going to get that look without taking a room full of drugs.
Yeah.
It's just not good. It's not possible. And there's only a tiny, tiny percentage of people that are willing to do that. So while people can admire the guys, look at the size of that guy. Wow. In other words, they know that they're never going to get like that. So they can't really kind of relate to it. Whereas a classic bodybuilder, it looks more attainable.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that makes it more popular.
Yes. Yeah. Well, look at it. I mean, the Open had 15 competitors. The Classic had 54.
There you go. And not only, and if you look at it from another point, women, if you stopped any 10 women on the street, and you showed them pictures of the open bodybuilders, and you showed them pictures of the classic bodybuilders, I guarantee you, every one of them would choose the classic bodybuilders.
Yeah.
They don't like they're too big.
Right.
Some of them. Now, if you encounter female athletes, but they're going to like the hardcore female. But most women, they like the nice, symmetrical, slimmer physiques.
It reminds me of 80s bodybuilding.
Yeah, exactly. That's these guys have never had bloated bellies.
No, no.
And I credit the open, like you say, the belly seems to be gone, which is great.
Yeah.
That's definite improvement. But these guys never have belly. They
can all do vacuums. Yeah.
Yeah, they have great symmetry.
Always.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for that one guy who he won it twice. If you mention his name, he comes to gold. Brian.
Yeah.
I've spoken to him. He's a really great guy.
Great guy. Yeah, I know Brian. Yeah.
Very nice guy. I feel so bad for him. Like, what did he get? Like 9th place?
No, he did good. He got 5th.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know, but it's kind of sad that he
they don't seem to consider him for first anymore. So
yeah, that's what I noticed.
Yeah.
I saw a little of prejudging. He didn't look like he was in running for the top 3.
And he's in his mid 40s. I think he's 44.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's got incredible physique. Incredible physique.
Yeah, I mean, his back is tremendous.
Back is fantastic. I actually would have had him a little higher. I would have had him 4th.
Yeah, but I kind of feel bad because of the fact that he won it twice.
Now I want to mention, Jerry, the same thing happened to him. He came out. I don't know if he had bad language on his music or they just picked the wrong music, but you could see he went like, "That's not my music," and he didn't skip a beat. He started posing. He did a fantastic routine to this music he didn't even know because he knows how to pose. He knows his body, and he's a great poser.
There you go. That's a true professional.
True professional. Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Sure, it throws them off a little bit when this music comes up.
Yeah, it threw him off for a second. Yeah.
Just go right back into it, do your routine, and forget about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
no different.
I kind of agree with you. I think in time, Classic Physique is going to take over, and I think it's very smart that they have a weight limit. Because there's a couple guys like this guy from Brazil, Ramon Dino. He's been second before. He was second last year. He dropped down to 4th this year. So they have a height and weight categories. So depending on what height you are, you can only weigh up to a certain amount. And with Ramon, he's got so much muscle on him that he has to basically starve himself and get rid of muscle in order to make the weight. And he goes through this every time he competes, and he struggles with this. And he always, like this year, he came in really flat. He didn't come in at his best. He was ripped, he was shredded, but he was just flat, and he ended up in 4th place. So I hear a lot of people saying, they should just take away the weight division. But no, if they do that, it's going to go right into open bodybuilding. It'll take a year or two, and these guys will be freaks, and they're going to have the stomachs, and it's just going to destroy the whole thing. So you got to have that limit, even if it means some of these guys aren't going to be at their best. I still think it's smart to have that limit because otherwise it's going to get out of control.
I totally agree. I mean, as evidence of that, look at some of the other divisions.
Yeah.
Remember the look at the bikini girls, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
They started out, if you remember the first year, they looked like just girls on the beach.
Yeah.
They didn't look like athletes or muscle girls. They looked like nice, curvy females. That's it.
Right.
They look great in bikini. But they've gradually evolved where they're starting to look harder and more muscular every year. And this is the natural evolution of bodybuilding. In other words, there's always that tendency to try and change the physique to make it dramatic, whether it's to make it harder or bigger. And if you don't have that type of limitation, then for sure these guys, with the Classic, they're going to show up bloated and with a big belly, because they're going to get that same thing that the open guys have, that the biggest guy wins. Now, what I'm wondering about in relation to the Classic bodybuilding is there going to be a guy as dominant in the next couple of years as Chris Bumstead was? And looking at the guys, I don't see that. I don't know whether you agree.
I think it could change. I think it could change hands every year, like the open bodybuilding is.
That's what I'm saying. In other words, I mean, the other guys look great. Don't get me wrong. They look fantastic. But I didn't see anybody who was as dominating as Chris was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be an open contest for the next couple of years where it can change each year. Where, the guy who gets third first, and first moves up to fourth. I think it'll be an interesting contest, you know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting too to see how much they improve, because I think all of them never really believed they could beat Chris Bumstead. You know, they might have said it. He even mentioned that at the press conference. He goes, yeah, every year these guys will tell me they're going to beat me, but he goes, I look them in the eye and I could tell they don't believe it.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
He's right.
See,
yeah.
What I worry about in relation to the open men's is, you know, this idea of bigger is better. I got to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm afraid something's going to happen where you're going to start to see guys get more and more guys get sick.
Yeah.
And God forbid, die. And what is that going to do to the open contest?
Yeah.
They're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
They're going to have to, you know, right away. I've said this before. Nobody ever pays attention to it. Sean Ray even agreed with this. I think they should be for the open men's where size is the limit. You know what I'm saying? There's no limit. I think they should have mandatory medical checkups and blood testing on these guys.
Yeah.
Just to protect them. Because, you know, you can't depend on these coaches, because a lot of these coaches are nut jobs that put these guys on anabolic programs that have no scientific basis, that they don't know what's going to happen with these guys. They're just shooting at the start. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And unless they do some protective measures, I hope I'm wrong. You know, some of these guys are going to get screwed up. You know, because of that feature, this obsession with getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
But I think a lot of them need to know what's best for them, and you know, bigger isn't better, better is better, right? So, I mean, I think they have to, like Lee Haney did, and like Frank Zane did, I think, and Arnold did. I think they need to assess their physiques, and let's say like a Derek Lunsford who loses, I think he's going to have to say, you know, what do I need to be better? Do I necessarily have to get bigger? I just have to be better. You know, so maybe I got to bring my waist down an inch or two. Maybe I got to be a little bit less weight, you know, which is, you know, I know they can't, you know, most of them won't do that, but I think they need to step outside the box and not just listen to what everybody else is telling them. And they need to know their own physique and say, you know, what do I need to do to be better? And I think if a lot of them did that, they'd be better off.
Yeah, they would be better off. And also, I think they should take the lesson of Frank Zane.
Yeah.
And if you want to throw in another name, Andreas Munzer. In other words, since as I said earlier, they're not going to get much bigger. These guys have probably reached their genetic limits. I mean, with the drugs and the training, the structure, you're not going to see a guy who competed this year at 240 enter next year at 315. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So why not, since you can't get much bigger, why not concentrate on bringing up any possible weak points like Arnold did? Look at yourself objectively. Maybe I need a little size on my calves, a little out of sweep on my thighs, and come in just shredded. Be careful with your diet. There's ways of adjusting your carb and protein and fat where you can actually minimize muscle loss. I don't think these guys are doing it. I don't think their coaches know about it, but there are ways to do that where they can maintain most of their muscle mass, but they could come in looking shredded.
Yeah.
Now, could you imagine these guys? Let's pick out Samson, for example, the guy who won. Imagine him entering next year, no bigger, same size, but striations everywhere.
Yeah.
Hot, ripped through the pecs. I mean, and he does a bicep, and he had shredded through it. Who's going to be? He'd destroy these guys.
No.
It would be a massacre. He would destroy everyone on stage. And the same goes for Andrew Jackson and all these other guys. What I tell them is forget trying to, shove all these drugs down your throat. Work for refinement and improvement of weak points rather than try to get bigger, because you're not going to get much bigger no matter how many drugs you take. I don't know what their coaches are telling them, but this is what the truth is.
And then if you got a guy like Hadi or Derek who are short, those guys, when they try to get bigger, they ruin the symmetry of their bodies because they're too short.
Yeah, they don't have the height to hold
Samson.
them.
Yeah,
because what happens with a guy like Hadi or Derek, if they try and enter at 250 or whatever, they're going to look like square blocks.
Right.
I mean, as great as Derek's, V taper is, what's going to happen is if he tries to get bigger and bigger, as you pointed out, you said his waist is a little bit bigger. It's going to get wider and wider, and his V taper is not going to look as impressive.
Right.
And when he stands in comparisons, he's going to look like a square block.
Yeah.
He's going to play shit. He's not going to do crap.
Right.
So, again, I don't know these guys personally, or I would tell them if they asked me. I would tell them right to their face. I'm not talking behind their back. This is what I believe. You know? I mean, don't get me wrong. I credit them as a bodybuilder. I never could have attained the physiques these guys had.
Yeah.
I don't have the genetics of these guys. I give them credit for that. If I took enough steroids, to fill up the, Madison Square Garden, I still wouldn't have looked like it. I just don't have the genetics. So I give them, but I'm saying they should, do what you say. Look at your own physique and be objective and look what you need to improve. Don't try and get bigger and bigger because it's only, especially the shorter guys, Hardy and Derek and those guys, they're going to screw themselves up.
Yeah.
I mean, if Hardy if he gets bigger legs, his calves are going to look so small. He's going to look like a lollipop leg. It's going to look ridiculous.
Right.
Big Ramy had that problem, if you remember, for a while.
Oh, yeah.
His thighs was, the funny thing is that if you saw his calves isolated, they weren't really small. But his thighs were so humongous, and he looked like he had tiny, skinny calves.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
And I wasn't at the Olympia I think it was 2 years ago. I wasn't there, or 3 years ago when it was in Vegas in, let's see, that would have been 2022. That was Derek's first Olympia. And that I heard people say that when he came out and he hit a front double bicep, it's like the whole crowd almost went back in their seats and like, wow, So I'm sure he's bigger now than he was then. That was 2 years ago, but he's not as impressive as he was then,
Exactly. And I'm telling you, he's not going to get any bigger.
No
matter what he does, and no matter how many drugs he takes, he's not. All he can do is ruin himself.
Yeah.
By getting muscles out of proportion, getting the thighs too big. Well, you can use a little size on the thighs, But I mean, it's a danger when you try and get too big. You throw off the symmetry of proportion, and you wind up placing lower instead of higher.
They don't have the symmetry and proportion round anymore where they just stand relaxed. They don't do that.
Yeah, right.
But if they did, maybe these guys would pay more attention to that. The other thing I wish they would do is maybe just do more comparisons. When I read some of these old articles about the Olympia, when they used to have it all on one day, this is before they had all these divisions, because now the problem is they're under a time constraint. They don't have the time, but before when it was just the Mr. Olympia, and they would have the prejudging at like 12 noon, they would spend 2 hours just going through the symmetry round and the mandatory posing. 2 hours. So the way they used to do it, and I'm sure you remember this, Jerry, is like each judge would select, I want to see these three guys. And then the next judge would go, I want to see these three guys. So you'd see the multiple comparisons over and over and over. But each judge would get a good assessment of who they wanted to see next to each other. And then they would also judge that symmetry round where they're just standing there relaxed, which is a different set of criteria than just size and conditioning. Now you're judging how the proportion is. Do the muscles all match up? What's the flow of the symmetry? Is the waist smaller? You're not going to really see that just from the mandatory poses.
Oh, I wasn't aware that they weren't doing the comparisons anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they have them go through it once, but they don't have a whole round where they're judging it.
Well, they should bring that back because you get a better assessment of the guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to look like two guys that, that are close. You have to do different poses. You get a much better idea of the guy who should be placed higher if you do that.
Yeah.
The way they're doing, they're not going to get, they're going to be not quite hitting the mark by doing this cursory posing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the solution is because, as you say, they have so many contests now that there is a time. I mean, they don't want it to. But maybe do they still have? Is it still on 2 days where they have a prejudge? Well, just on the prejudging days, just expanded. Have the Mr. Olympia judge completely different from other contests.
Well, they can't because they held it with 5 other divisions.
Yeah, see, that's the problem.
And they used to hold it last. They used to do all the other divisions, which their divisions were the finals because they prejudged all those divisions earlier in the day at the expo. So they would just give all the finals and give all the awards out. And then after all that was over, then they would do the men's, and people were complaining. So this year they did move it up. They put it like in the middle. But I think what they need to do is take it off of Friday night completely, do it on Saturday. I'm sure they got that theater all weekend, right? I'm sure they're renting it for the whole weekend. If they have it on Friday night and Saturday night, they must have it Saturday afternoon. Just do the prejudging Saturday afternoon, hold it away from the expo, hold it at the theater, and just judge for 2 hours, and then have the finals at night.
That's what I mean. I totally agree. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the only way. I don't see why they can't do that.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah.
Who knows? But that's the way they're organizing. What can you say?
Yeah. They just have a tremendous schedule. There's I think 11 divisions now.
Yeah. Oh my God.
There's 6 women divisions and 5 men divisions.
And if they don't probably bring in, what could they do? I don't know.
Men's fitness or something. Yeah.
I don't know. What could they bring in? I don't know.
Don't give them any ideas.
I don't even want to bring it up. Just in
right.
case.
I don't either.
Let's not to bring it up. I was surprised enough when I first saw that men's bodybuilding with the board. I thought I had to rub my eyes. I thought I said, okay. Now when I guess what I said to myself, well, I guess now they're going to go back and put on their posing trunks. Now that I thought that was just an introductory thing.
Right.
I realized that's the whole.
Yeah.
No judging the thighs are the largest muscles in the body.
Yeah.
And they're not judging it.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
All right, Jared. Well, thank you.
No, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to. What these guys train hard, so I don't want to put them down.
Oh yeah,
it's not their fault that they come up with that division. I don't want to insult the actual men's bodybuilding competitors, but I just, from a kind of old school bodybuilder like myself, who's used to posing trunks, it's just, it's hard to imagine. I mean, Reg, I remember when they came out, Reg Park was still up. He thought it was completely absurd. He told me.
Yeah.
He thought it was ridiculous to have guys, in board shorts. He thought it was absolutely absurd.
I think the whole reason,
but the guys they do. Huh?
The whole reason the division started was because the bodybuilders were getting so big, and this was before Classic, so then they said, well, what they said was there's a lot of guys in the gym training, younger guys who have nice bodies, but they don't want to take all the drugs. They don't want to get as big as these guys. So let's have like a beach body look, with the board shorts. They'll have abs. Yeah. They're like, lightly muscled, and that's how it started. They were just like beach guys, who were like models, with the abs and stuff. But then it got out of hand and they started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you've got bodybuilders wearing board shorts.
Again, that's the natural evolution. There's always going to be that tendency.
Yeah.
So I think it was like you say, it was a backlash, because remember, that's when the guys in the pro division, the men, they were having those bloated bellies and huge, and they wanted to have a division where it's 360 degrees, where the guys were like, like you say, guys you could see on the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, early, if you think back, the early men's bodybuilding, men's physique competitors, a lot of them just had abs.
Yeah.
They had skinny little arms, tiny little shoulders. I mean, these were guys that looked like they didn't even have to train with weights.
Right.
All they had to do, they had to be lean. They'd show abs.
Yeah.
I mean, plus the thing that really annoys me about that division, in their effort to differentiate themselves so much from so-called hardcore bodybuilding, they made rules where the men's physique have to do these kind of effeminate poses. In other words, they can't go like this. They have to do this kind of, this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Come on. You're making it look like,
well, they're not supposed to pose at all. They're just supposed to stand to the front and back. But I think, I don't think it's the judging. I think it's them or the coaches or whoever. They're coming up with these ways they can transition, but the bikini does the same thing. They do some stuff with their arms and stuff, because they don't pose. They just show different parts of your, the front and the back. So,
okay. Oh, I thought that was part of the judging.
No, I think they're just coming up with that themselves, but it does look kind of stupid.
Yeah. So you're saying that if they wanted to, they could do like the old hardcore, like a double arm.
No, they're not supposed to
just
pose. They're just supposed to stand to the front and to the back.
Okay. So there's no pose. Okay.
Right. What they do, and bikini does this too, bikini girls just stand to the front and back. They don't hit any poses or anything. But they come up with all these transitions, move this way, stick this out, move this out, so they're just, I think the posing coaches are coming up with that. And then everybody follows what everybody else does, and they all do it the same way,
Let me ask you this, what's the rules for the so-called wellness women? I mean, what is their posing rules? What are they posing?
I think they're just the same too. They just front and back.
No, the reason I ask that is because from what I can see, these girls were kind of like string bikinis almost.
Yeah.
By the way, that division, I'm going to make a statement. That division, the female wellness, as a heterosexual male, I like to look at it. I admit it. I like. I'm not going to lie to you. I like to look at it.
I think most men agree with you.
Yeah, but that division would not exist if Ben Weider was still alive.
Right.
Guarantee it. He was he didn't like that stuff.
Yeah.
But when I see these girls come out and they with their hands on their hip or something, and then they turn around and they literally stick their butts in the air.
Right.
And what that cracks me up is when they're being comparison judged, you'll have a bunch of them in a lineup, all with their back turned to the audience, sticking their butts out.
Right.
I mean, it's so sexual. You can't get away. Come on. These girls don't have, it's not like the female bodybuilders where they're so cut that they have striations on their butt.
Yeah.
These girls don't have striations. What they do have is a lot of them have butt implants.
Yeah.
Especially girls from South America.
Oh yeah.
And it's so, it's so weird when I look at some of these girls, their butt implants are so big that when they turn to the side, you could still see their butt because they have these huge implants in their butt.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not complaining about it. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I'm just saying that it's funny how things have evolved where you have a division like that, which never would have existed if Ben Weider was still alive. No question about it. He got mad when female bodybuilders. Remember, we talked about this when they did that so-called moon pose years ago. Remember?
Oh yeah, they banned that. Yeah.
The female hardcore body would come out. The ones that had striations in their butt and their hamstrings, they would turn back. They turn their back to the audience, bend down, and touch their toes.
Right. Men were doing that too. Remember?
Yeah, it's true. But Ben Weider was horrified when he saw that.
Yeah.
He thought it was. He compared it to pornography.
Yeah.
He said any competitor that does that is going to have points taken off
or banned.
And now you have, men or women, and now you're going to have these wellness girls come out wearing the tiniest bikinis, and I mean they're like almost like strings. Some of them, and they're doing the same thing. Practically, they're not bending all the way over, but they're sticking their butt in the air.
Well, out of like 10 divisions, only 3 of them have posing.
That's kind of weird, huh?
Yeah, no. Yeah. The other ones just kind of stand there.
Yeah. Well, what can I say?
That's why, my hope is that the classic physique keeps getting bigger and bigger, and the guys keep working on their posing, and they keep coming in great shape. And that to me reminds me of, like what bodybuilding used to be like back in the 80s. It's like a throwback,
I agree. And I think you're going to see that particular division maintains that kind of well-conditioned look.
Yeah.
Because it's a requirement.
That's absolutely.
You got to have that, So you year after, and unfortunately, I don't know what the future is for the open, the open men's competition, because with that again emphasis on size, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, the only thing I could say for sure, what I believe at this point is what we said at the beginning, is that it's not going to be a hegemony of one guy winning year after year after year. I think it's going to change every year.
Yeah.
Unless there's some superhuman guy like a Ronnie Coleman shows up again.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening for a while.
Because you not only have you would have to have a guy with the genetics, but also the drive. The mental attitude. Like Andrew Jack might be able to do it, but I don't think he's got the mental attitude to do it.
Yeah. And remember, there's one other fact you have to take into account, John, is that some of these guys, like even Samson at 39, and Bonet at 43, they're getting older.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the less responsive you're going to get to the drugs, and their physique is inevitably going to recede.
Yeah.
They're not going to look as good with each passing year, and then you're going to have a whole new generation of new guys take over. These guys are going to be pushed out. They'll get lower places and disappear. Yeah, they'll basically, like the dinosaurs, they'll just disappear.
Yeah. When I was sitting in the prejudging for that Classic Physique, there was a lot of young guys sitting around me, and I think they were part of the media, but they were getting so excited. Like with some of these guys come out, they'd be like standing up, screaming. And I'm like, wow, this reminds me of back in the 70s or the 80s when people would get so excited. Younger guys would get all excited about it.
Well, I think it's the most of the male bodybuilding. I think Classic is by far the most popular. So
because, like you said, it's attainable. Yeah,
it's attainable. And Chris Bumstead is evidence. The guy has made a tremendous success out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like in awe of his home gym. I've never seen a home gym like that.
Oh, he's making millions and millions of dollars a year.
Yeah, it was like it was a huge, not a little shack. It was this big, giant freaking ware. It looked like the size of a Costco for crying out.
I know.
He had every machine. He gave a tour in this video. He showed all the machines. He's got every machine. He has more machines than a lot of professional gyms, and it's only him.
Yeah.
Well, I assume it's all. I don't know whether he trains anybody there, but I don't
think he trains anybody. He
he seemed to imply that he likes training by alone. So
well, like you said, he's so popular. I can imagine him in a gym. He's going to be getting interrupted. Times of workout.
Yeah, I think Chris is going to be popular for a couple of years to come.
Oh yeah. He can live off of that image and his wins for many, many years. I think.
Yeah, sure. And he, like you say, he has the businesses going. I understand his supplement company's doing well. That's great.
Yeah, and like you said, I don't think whoever takes over, they're not going to have his following. They're not going to have his.
He's kind of
fan base.
You kind of look at him as the Arnold of classic boxing.
Absolutely, 100%.
I think that's yeah. So there's not going to be a guy that's that dominant in the classic. Like I say though, the guy who's second. I was impressed by him. If he comes in next year in that condition or better, he's the winner for sure.
Yeah.
He looked fantastic.
Mike Sommerfeld from Germany. That's his name.
I don't know. I never heard of the guy, but I looked. I said, "Wow, this guy's peak, boy. That's peak bodybuilding condition."
Yeah,
he's in great shape.
Another impressive thing Bumstead said at the seminar on Sunday was, they raised the prize money this year to the Olympia to $600,000.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Now the Classic, Chris, he got 60,000.
1/10.
1/10.
No, wait a minute. Hold on a second. How could the most popular division in bodybuilding
get 1/10?
And 1/10 the prize money of the. All right. You can say, well, wait a minute, Joe. Hold on a second. The Mr. Olympia has been around since 1965. They started out giving only $1,000. To Larry Scott. You can't compare it, but I don't think it. I mean, when I have complained, I remember having once a conversation again with Sean Ray, and I was saying, Sean, I think that the Mr. Olympia winner, this is a couple of years ago, should get a lot more. I think the prize money at the time was something like $200,000 at the time of the conversation.
Yeah.
I said, Mr. Olympia, for crying out loud, the #1 professional bodybuilder in the world. I mean, he should get a lot more than $200,000. That's peanuts. He says, Jerry, it's not the same. I said, what do you mean? He says, I remember what I said. I said, look what professional baseball players are paid and football players. I said, these guys aren't putting their damn lives on the line like bodybuilders, and they're getting millions. He says it's not the same. Bodybuilding this is what he said. Bodybuilding doesn't have the same popularity with the public that baseball players and football players, which is true. That's why they get the big bucks, because they draw people. Okay. Now, using that type of thinking, if classic bodybuilding is the most popular division, you said how enthusiastic the crowd was, why are they getting 1/10 the price of the Mr. Olympia?
Yeah.
That doesn't, again, makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I think that Mr. Olympia should get at least $1 million flat, $1 million.
I think it's getting.
Well, yeah, maybe in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And the classic bodybuilder right now should get a minimal of 500,000.
Well, Chris said that next year he's going to donate his own money toward the prize money.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
And he said it's not going to be from his sponsors. It's going to be him. He's going to donate his own money to give to these guys after he quits.
I wonder what he plans to give. I wonder how much he would.
I don't know. Maybe he'll double it.
Yeah, I mean, if he gave $100,000,
yeah,
and they still were giving 60, 100, that's a lot better than 60,000. That's almost insulting,
Yeah,
to give a classic bodybuilding 60,000.
Yeah, he probably will give
that's
probably $100,000. I'll bet he will.
Yeah, but then again, if you look at it from another perspective, now Chris Bumstead has a good look that people like.
Yeah,
and he's parlayed his measly 60,000. He's parlayed his popularity into business ventures, and products that have made him a lot more money. As far as I know, he's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah,
I mean, he has like 4 million followers or something like that.
25 million.
What? I didn't even 25 million.
25 million on Instagram.
Oh my God, he could make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month just off that.
Right. Arnold's got 26 million. He's right next to Arnold.
Oh, wow. So so in other words, you can look at it from that perspective, that even though he didn't make much money for his win, he was able to parlay his popularity into successful business ventures where he's making far more money than he would ever make as a bodybuilding competitor from the contest. So that's nothing that the organizations helped. He did it himself.
It'll be interesting to see what he gives next year.
Yeah. Geez, he must be making so much money. It's a mind-boggling.
Crazy.
Good for him.
Well, he's part owner of Raw Nutrition, so he's not just sponsored by them. He's part owner. And then he just announced, like weeks before the Olympia, he used to work for this clothing company called Gymshark, which is enormously popular. It's huge. Everybody wears it. So I think when he was with them, he helped popularize a lot of their clothing because of his name. So then he got away from that. He started doing his own clothing line. Now Gymshark brought him back, but now he's part owner. He's got stakes in the company. He's part owner. So yeah,
making a fortune.
Making a fortune, yeah.
A fortune. I saw a video the other day. My friend Jay Cutler, I know him pretty well, and I just happened to catch a video of him giving a tour of his home.
Mm-hmm.
Las Vegas. He has like 5 cars.
Yeah.
He has this beautiful home.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you go online and it says he has a net worth of $30 million.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy for the guy. I like Jay. I'm glad. But, the point of this is that these guys have very intelligently, just like Arnold did, they've used their success in bodybuilding to go into other ventures that made him a lot of money. That's a smart thing. That's a smart thing to do,
But, with bodybuilding, they used to always have to, like Jay did, like Ronnie did, they would have to start a supplement company. That's where they really made their money. Now it's getting to the point where the prize money is so big. Like they just gave $600,000 at the Olympia. The Arnold's giving $500,000. So if Samson wins both of those, that's $1 million right there, over $1 million.
Right, that's true.
So they can make millions. They can be a millionaire just from prize money, which was never possible before.
And I noticed another thing about Samson. I saw a video. He claims that his wife is his coach and trainer.
Yeah, she's coached him all year. Yeah.
I mean, is that just to give his wife publicity? You think she's really?
No, he was coached by Milos before, Milos Garcev, and I think last year when it was either after he lost the Olympia or after he lost the Arnold, he dropped Milos. I think it was after he lost the Arnold. He dropped Milos, and then his wife said, "Well, I know enough about your diet. I'll just help you." So she's coaching him now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Now I'm wondering if that's going to be a stepping stone. Remember how what's his name? Nichols, his first name Nichols, the coach. Chad Nichols. He started out. I don't remember which Mr. Olympia. He worked with one Mr. Olympia, and the guy won it like 2 or 3 years. Maybe it was Coleman. I don't remember. But because of that, a bunch of other pro bodybuilders.
Yeah, he was doing Nasser. He was doing Flex. Yeah.
Remember, he was doing a bunch of guys, and I'm wondering now if, especially if Samson wins it next year, they're going to give because they're going to attribute a lot of his success to his wife. They're going to say she must be a damn good coach.
Yeah.
Samson won it 2 years in a row.
Right.
How much will you train? She could wind up adding to the family.
She could be a coach too, right?
Wouldn't that be funny if she becomes a top bodybuilding coach?
Yeah.
Hey, that's good for Samson. I hope it. I don't know. Seems like a nice guy.
He's like a great guy. Yeah, I've met him a couple of times. He's a really great guy. So
yeah, I can only go by what I see in their interviews. And because unlike the '90s when I worked for Joe and I knew every pro bodybuilder. They knew me.
Yeah.
None of these. If I showed up at the Olympia, not one of these guys would know, unless they were fans of bodybuilding and read the old magazines. Like Phil Heath surprised me when I first met him in person at Gold's Gym. He showed up there, and I had never met him. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey Phil, I'm Jerry Brainum." "Oh, Jerry, I've been reading your articles for years." Now, I'd already stopped writing for Joe years before he started competing. And I was very surprised that he knew who I was.
Yeah.
But Bill was a bodybuilding fan. He liked reading the magazines, like you read the articles in your video. He loved the reading the mag, so he knew who I was. That's the only way these guys would know me. Otherwise, they don't know me from that.
Right.
But again, going by the interviews, most of the guys I've seen, they all seem like really nice guys. The only guy who put me off was again, why am I keep forgetting
Nick
this
Walker.
guy? Nick Walker, because there was a video where he won the New York show, and he has this medallion. It says New York Pro, and he goes like this. He goes like this to the camera. Come on. And there was another thing where he was on stage with some of the other guys, and they were handing a bag, and he threw the bag on the ground. And his antics, I could be wrong. Maybe if you actually meet the guy, he might be a really nice guy. But I can only go by what I see, and what I see here is an arrogant guy.
Yeah.
Now, one guy who seems like a really nice guy, which doesn't surprise me, and again, I never really met him. The last time I saw him, he was in his mother's belly, is Hunter LeBron.
Yeah.
She was pregnant with him, but I mean, he, just like Lee, has always been a gentleman and a very nice guy.
Yeah,
his son, impressed, is also a really down-to-earth, very nice guy.
Yeah.
So I get a very good impression from Hunter LeBron.
Yeah, he was raised right.
Yeah, he seems like a really nice. I'm not surprised because I know Lee. I don't know how Lee is a gentleman. He's an intelligent guy.
Yeah.
He knows how to treat people. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah. All right, Jared. Well, let's wrap it up there. And thanks for joining me again. And it'll only be a couple more months, and we'll be doing our end of the year review like we always do. So thanks again for joining me. And it's always good talking to you. I know our listeners to the show always love when you're on. So this will be a treat for them.
Yeah, and I just hope I'll just impart my final words for this podcast by saying I really hope that all these bodybuilding competitors stay healthy.
Yeah.
And nothing happens to them. There's no heart attacks. There's no serious injuries. Again, I don't know them, but I wish them the best, male and female. I hope they all stay healthy. I wish them the best.
Yeah, me too. All right, Jared. Well, thanks for joining us again, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, John, take care.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Take care.